Alright, we're now going a step further than factoring, and we're going to be solving equations that look like ax squared plus bx plus c part 2. Again, 4 steps. They're actually the exact same steps from 8.6 and 8.5. So first, we need to rearrange the equation so it equals 0. We need to rearrange so that it equals 0. Then we need to factor. We now have some different techniques to factoring. After we factor, then we are going to set each factor equal to 0, and then finally we're going to solve for the variables. So we're going to rearrange so that it equals 0, we're going to factor, we're going to set each factor equal to 0, and then we're going to solve for the variables. So first up we have 2x squared minus 3x minus 20. Any greater, well, back it up. We have an equation, so we need to rearrange the equation so that it equals 0. 2x squared minus 3x minus 20 equals 0. Great, the whole equation equals 0. Now we need a factor. Is there a common factor between 2x squared minus 3x minus 20? And all the people said together, no, there is no common factor. So we are going to look, and we have a coefficient, so we're going to have to multiply these outer two. So we need to see what multiplies to negative 40 that adds to negative 3. So let's see, factors of negative 40, I can come up with 10 times negative 4, but that adds to 6. I can come up with 8 times negative 5, and that adds to positive 3, so maybe negative 8 times positive 5 gives me my negative 3. So I say 2x squared minus 8x plus 5x minus 20 equals 0. I set up my grouping. 2x squared minus 8x. I can pull out a 2x, and I'm left with x minus 4. 5x minus 20. I can pull out a 5, and I'm also left with x minus 4 equals 0. So we have 2x plus 5 times the group x minus 4 equals 0. So remember, I want you to show this step where we say 2x plus 5 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. Then at this point I solve over here, subtract 2x equals negative 5. So x equals negative 5 halves. Fractions are okay. And when we add 4, x equals 4. So x equals negative 5 halves and x equals 4. I'm going to rewrite this so that my circle doesn't take out the problem beneath it. So, looking at our next example, we have negative 16t squared plus 36t minus 8 equals 0. 1, does the equation equal 0? I believe I just said equals 0. There we go. Step 2, factor. Is there a greatest common factor between negative 16t squared plus 36t minus 8? Yes, I'm going to pull out a negative 4. Then at this point I'm left with 4t squared minus 9t plus 2 equals 0. Since my coefficient of t squared is not 1, I have to do my thing where I multiply the outside and I see what multiplies to 8 that adds to negative 9. Well, I think it's going to be negative 8 times negative 1, which does indeed add to negative 9. So I'll have negative 4 times the group, and I'm going to put it in a bracket. You'll see why later. 4t squared minus 8t minus 1t minus or plus 2 in a bracket equals 0. Apply my groups. Sneak that plus sign in there. So I have negative 4 times, let's see, 4t squared minus 8t. I have a common factor of 4t, left with t minus 2. Negative 1t plus 2, and I want t minus 2, so I'm going to factor out that negative 1 So we're left with t minus 2 equals 0, which then that factors negative 4 times the group 4t minus 1 times the group t minus 2 equals 0. Now, when I set negative 4 equal to 0, that's not true, so you just ignore it. So I'm going to say, and I'm going to move this over here for some more room, I'm going to say 4t minus 1 equals 0, and t minus 2 equals 0. And when I plus 1, I get 4t equals 1, so therefore t equals 1/4 plus 2. T equals 2. So I rearranged so it equals 0. It was already done. I factored, set each factor equal to 0, and solved. Again, if I have this negative 4 out front here, negative 4 equal to 0 doesn't. So you just kind of don't worry about that when it comes to writing out your other factors. Now, I have 40x squared plus 2x equals 24. 40x squared plus 2x equals 24. Is my equation set equal to 0? No, it is not. So I have to rearrange that. I'm going to subtract the 24 and say 40x squared plus 2x minus 24 now equals 0. Now I'm going to factor between 40x squared, 2x, and negative 24. I have a factor of 2 as a common factor. So 2, now I have 20x squared plus x minus 12 equals 0. So now I don't have a common factor. I have a coefficient greater than 1. So I have to say what multiplies to 12 times, or negative 12 times 20, which we get negative 240. That adds to 1. So I look at my factors of negative 240. And you know what? I'm not so sure of all of my factors of 240 offhand, so I'm going to pull out a calculator, and that's okay. So let's see, 240 divided by 12, that's 240 and 20, negative 20 and 12, that gives us negative 8, that's not 1. Let's see, 240 divided by 16. Ooh, we have 16 times negative 15 gives us positive 1. This is why we kind of use our calculators and we just kind of guess and check. There is no absolute concrete way to finding what multiplies to this and what adds to this, so we just kind of have to do some guess and check. So I'm going to say 2 times the bracket group 20x squared minus 15x plus 16x minus 12 is equal to 0 when I do my grouping. 2 times the group 20x squared minus 15x. We have a common factor of 5x, so we're left with 4x minus 3. 16x minus 12, we have a common factor of 4, plus 4, left with 4x minus 3. Well, that equals 0. So I have 2 times the group 5x plus 4 times the group 4x minus 3 equals 0. I said each of those equal to 0, so 5x plus 4 equals 0. 4x minus 3 equals 0. Long story short, I solve, and x equals negative 4/5, and x equals 3/4. Woot. Our practice problems were on page 1199, numbers 5 through 8 and 23 through 28. Number 5 starts off by saying 2x squared plus 9x plus 9 equals 0. Is the whole equation set equal to 0? Yes. We factor. What multiplies to 18 and adds to 9? Well, I can think of 3 times 6. So I'm going to say 2x squared plus 3x plus 6x plus 9 equals 0. Apply my groupings. 2x squared plus 3x squared is common factor of x. 2x plus 3 plus 6x plus 9, greatest common factor of 3. Left with 2x plus 3. So I have 2x plus 3 times the group x plus 3 equals 0. So 2x plus 3 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. So over here I subtract 3, so 2x equals negative 3. So x equals negative 3 halves. And over here, after I subtract 3, I see x equals negative 3. Now, a lot of this assumes that we remember everything from 8.7 part 1 with our factoring. If you don't remember this factoring technique, go back and rewatch that before we solve. The solving is the easy part. The factoring is what needs the work.